US Navy sets a trap for the Iranian fleet. Then this happened. Early hours of February 3rd. The world sleeps, but in the Strait of Hormuz, alarms are already cutting through the night. The Strait of Hormuz stopped being a shipping lane and became a chessboard. The sea was black glass. Oil tankers drifted in orderly lanes. On the horizon, the navigation lights of civilian traffic blinked in steady rhythm. Nothing in the darkness suggested that one of the most advanced destroyers ever built was seconds away from walking into a perfectly engineered ambush. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Jack H. Lucas, the mood shifted first. The tactical display didn't flicker, it flooded. Red contact indicators pulsed across the lower band of the screen. Low-frequency acoustic returns that didn't behave like debris, marine life, or merchant hulls. They pulsed in synchronization. That was the first clue. The second was worse. They were locking. 40 Iranian EM-53 smart naval mines had just entered acquisition mode simultaneously. These weren't relics chained to the seabed waiting for random impact. The EM-53 variant in this scenario had selective acoustic recognition, designed to ignore low-output engines, ignore minesweepers, ignore background clutter. They waited, patient, dormant, listening for something specific, and now they had found it. The unmistakable acoustic fingerprint of a 100,000 horsepower American gas turbine propulsion system. At that distance, a coordinated detonation beneath the keel of a 10,000-ton destroyer wouldn't just damage it, it would snap its spine. But the threat wasn't confined below. Its surface radar painted 12 fast attack craft bursting from concealment among the jagged rocky outcrops of the Iranian coastline. One moment the shoreline was empty, sun-bleached stone and heat shimmer, and the next it was alive with motion. Their signatures were small, aluminum-hulled, razor-fast, not charging blindly, not reckless, calculated. They accelerated in disciplined silence, slicing across the water in angled intercept arcs, converging with mathematical precision. This wasn't a frontal assault, it was a trap, tightening in real time. The geometry was flawless, a moving cage drawn in salt water and speed. Every option narrowed the corridor of survival. Move forward, and the destroyer would push into denser mine clusters seeded invisibly beneath the surface. A field waiting for pressure, weight, or the faintest anomaly. Turn too sharply, and the stern would swing wide, crossing directly over magnetic triggers calibrated to the mass of warships. Open fire with the main gun, and the concussive shock waves alone could ripple downward, awakening vibration-sensitive detonators lurking below like patient predators. For a split second, the sea looked open. But it wasn't open at all. It was engineered, layered with consequences, measured in milliseconds. Holding position would freeze the ship inside a targeting envelope for shore-based anti-ship missiles. Every conventional option equaled destruction. 300 American lives now balanced on acoustic thresholds measured in decibels. Rewind 5 minutes. At 2:09 hours, confidence ruled the bridge. The USS Jack H. Lucas was transiting at 15 knots through the strait as part of a freedom of navigation assertion. The Fifth Fleet had done its homework, or so it believed. An Avenger-class minesweeper had cleared a corridor 2 miles ahead. Its sensors reported nothing unusual. No metallic density clusters, no magnetic anomalies, no classic moored signatures. That nothing was the trap. The EM-53 Smart Ambush variant wasn't built to be found by standard sweeps. It was programmed to ignore light engine signatures. It would allow the minesweeper to pass untouched. It would ignore auxiliary craft. It would sleep through decoys. It was waiting for the real target. The moment the destroyer's magnetic footprint and turbine resonance crossed the coordinate grid, the seabed woke up. Below the hull, dormant units powered up in unison. Above the surface, 12 PACAP-style fast boats surged to 55 knots, slicing across the American bow in tight arcs, deliberately close enough to generate hydrodynamic turbulence. And here's where it became cruelly ironic. The destroyer's world-class SPY-6 radar, optimized for long-range air and missile threats, was now drowning in sea clutter. Merchant traffic, wave reflection, surface spray. Thousands of false returns degraded fire control clarity at the exact moment precision mattered most. The Aegis system couldn't cleanly isolate priority threats fast enough to justify a kinetic response. The captain faced a tactical paradox: accelerate and risk detonating the minefield through gravitation noise. Fire and risk triggering vibration sensors. Turn sharply and expose the stern to denser magnetic fields. Wait, and become a stationary missile target. Iran had engineered a killbox in 3 dimensions. This wasn't brute force. It was environmental warfare. Inside the CIC, options collapsed one by one. Then came the order no one expected. All stop. The engines throttled down. The massive destroyer strained against its own momentum as propulsion cut. Emergency degaussing systems surged power through hull coils, reducing the magnetic signature. Every unnecessary onboard vibration source was isolated. Silence became survival. Below, deprived of primary acoustic input, the mines hesitated. Lock indicators fluctuated. Several shifted back toward standby sensitivity thresholds. It bought seconds. Seconds in modern naval warfare are oxygen. The ship deployed a dipping sonar system, constructing a 3-dimensional acoustic model of the seabed. Simultaneously, a knifefish autonomous underwater vehicle entered the water, low profile, a purpose-built for mine countermeasures. Its task wasn't to detonate, it was to deceive. The drone descended to 30 meters and began narrowband acoustic isolation, emitting controlled ultrasonic pulses designed to convince specific mines that the primary engine signature had faded into background noise. For a moment, the tactical display flickered from red to amber. Then Iran's contingency activated. The EM-53 software included a deadman protocol. If one mine went silent for too long, interpreted as cyber interference, the entire field would shift to hypersensitivity mode. Acoustic thresholds dropped to near zero. The faint hum of the knifefish's motor became a beacon. 3 mines detached from mooring anchors, ignited propulsion systems, and surged toward the underwater drone like short-range torpedoes. A muffled explosion rolled through the water column. The drone disintegrated. The minefield was no longer passive. Above, the fast attack boats tightened formation, forming a rotating death spiral around the destroyer. 24 outboard engines roared in chaotic unison, creating an acoustic storm that overloaded sonar processing. The ship was effectively blind underwater. Wave interference slammed against the hull. Rudder authority degraded. The destroyer drifted incrementally toward denser mine clusters. The weapons officer requested permission to fire. The captain refused. In hypersensitivity mode, even a muzzle blast could trigger a chain detonation beneath the keel. Conventional warfare logic had failed. That's when the captain shifted domains. If kinetic response was suicide, perception would be the weapon. Electronic warfare activated. The ship's advanced electronic attack suite, part of its Flight 3 configuration, redirected from scanning to focused emission. Razor-thin RF beams targeted the aluminum hulls of the circling boats, not to burn electronics, but to induce structural resonance. Aluminum is conductive. Under specific frequencies, induced eddy currents can force vibration across surface panels. The effect was immediate. Each fast boat began vibrating at tuned frequencies, engineered to mimic the acoustic profile of an LM-2500 gas turbine destroyer engine. Simultaneously, Nixie decoys streamed astern, broadcasting false magnetic pulses. Wideband jamming severed data links between the boats and coastal coordination nodes. The Iranian swarm lost synchronization, and below the surface, hypersensitive minds received conflicting data. So instead of one large acoustic signature, they now detected 12. Loud, magnetic, violent, directly overhead. From the mind's perspective, the primary threat had multiplied, and it was no longer the destroyer. 35 remaining units entered attack mode. Mooring locks burst. Propulsion ignited. Supercavitating gas bubbles enveloped accelerating bodies as they surged upward at extreme speed toward what they believed were 10,000-ton hulls. But they were aluminum-fast boats, broadcasting false identities. The Strait of Hormuz erupted. Water columns shot 30 meters into the air as detonations tore through the swarm's formation. Fragile hulls disintegrated under their own weapons. Shockwaves ripped engines from mounts. Debris hammered the sea surface. The acoustic storm collapsed into chaos. Shrapnel peppered the destroyer, but its reinforced hull held. Flank speed, hard rudder. Engines roared back to life, with the mine density drastically reduced and acoustic confusion peaking. The destroyer zigzagged through the disrupted field. One stray mine broke surface vector toward the bridge, neutralized mid-air by close-in defensive fire. Onshore missile batteries, temporarily blinded by electronic interference and atmospheric debris, failed to achieve a stable lock. Minutes later, the USS Jack H. Lucas cleared the kill zone. No Tomahawks launched, no deck guns fired offensively, no retaliatory strike escalated the engagement. Instead, Washington issued a controlled diplomatic statement framing the event as a defensive response to a malfunction scenario. Publicly, it was de-escalation. Privately, it was a lesson in modern warfare. So the destroyer had survived not by overwhelming force, but by rewriting enemy perception. But victory carried a shadow. Iran now possessed real-world telemetry. They observed how American electronic warfare systems behaved under layered stress. They recorded reaction times. They analyzed signature masking techniques. They measured response thresholds. The ambush failed tactically, but data was harvested strategically. February 3rd did not end with celebration. It ended with recalibration. Naval warfare had just crossed another threshold. For decades, sea dominance meant firepower, tonnage, missile range. But this engagement proved something colder. Control of perception can outweigh control of ordnance. The mines were not destroyed. They were convinced. The fast attack boats were not hunted. They were reclassified by their own weapons, and the strait returned to silence. But beneath that silence lay wreckage and evolution. The captain stood on the bridge as smoke thinned across dawn light, fully aware that the rules had shifted. Not permanently, not decisively, but unmistakably. The mind had outmaneuvered the minefield, yet somewhere along that coastline, engineers were already studying what went wrong. Electronic warfare does not remain dominant forever. Adaptation never sleeps. The sword had been removed from America's throat, but it had not been shattered. It was being reforged. And the next time the strait becomes quiet at 2:14 hours, silence may not mean hesitation. It may mean something is listening. If this analysis gave you a deeper look at the hidden mechanics behind modern naval confrontations, support the channel, stay connected, and make sure you're here for the next breakdown, because the next engagement may already be unfolding beneath the surface.